Today we are going to disassemble parts of the dashboard in order to install the cruise control. So I will begin with the easiest part first. I will remove the glove box which is to the passenger side of the car. You will need to remove this in order to reach the ECU and pin a wire in the ECU. So let's begin. This is the glove box part of the car towards the passenger side. You will open this, and if there is anything present you have to remove it. Okay, now there is a latch here that you would remove in the first step. It is very easy. You could either just press it here or just pull the black one like this. First you will remove this hinge, and then you will have to remove hinges which are present at the lower end of this glove box, which you cannot see. Place your hands at the lower parts of this glove box and pull it up. Make sure it is in this position, not like this, because it will not be pushed from behind, because you will have it locked here. So push it slightly inwards and then pull it from the lower ends. So when you pull it, there are 2 or 3 connectors or hinges at the lower end that would be disconnected. So I would pull it and then show you the hinges. Make sure you do not break anything. Just pull it ever so slowly, and it will unhinge. Pull it up from one side and also the other side, so it will pop open, and then you will slide it in a way that you don't scratch the sides. These are the hinges that will be unhinged. These hinges are unhinged from here, and now you can see the ECU connector, and we will connect a wire here. Okay, so now we have removed the glove box, and we can now see the ECU and its connectors. We will connect one of the ECU wire here, pin it here in this connector. So we need to, in order to do that, we need to pin it to get the connector out. In order to get the connector out, you need to press it from the top where its lock is, and push it down, and then pull it. Once you pull it, it will be easily removed from the connector. Now this is a female connector because it has these holes which go into the slots or the pins in the male connector. So we will place the wire here. I have already attached one of the wire of the cruise control. This has a pin at both ends, pin at one end here and the other end here. So one of the end will be connected at this position, just above this brown one, in this area. So when you open your ECU connector, you will see this should be the second connector from the top here, and you will place it just above the brown wire at this position. This position is basically number 22 pin position. I will show you why it is called the number 22 position. So because this is a female connector, you start from the top right. Make sure this latch or this lock is towards the top, and then you count from here. Don't count this one because it is just a hole. It does not have any connecting part. So pin position is only from here, not here. So when you count from these pin positions, there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 positions at the top, and then there are these smaller ones, 6 7 8 9 10, the green one, 11 12 13 14 15 and 16. So this and this line is 16, and now you have the pink one, 17, the blue one, 18 19 20 21, and then you can see this red one that I have pinned is 22, followed by brown, which is at 23 position. So all you need to do is pin this to number 22 position, and you can see this is pinned, and you cannot remove it by just dragging it. I will show you how to securely place it using this pin. In order to attach this wire, you need to learn a few basics of connecting and disconnecting these pins. This grip or connector has this square at one end, opposite to this lock. It is the lock for locking these wires in place. So in order to attach or remove any of the wire, you need to first pull this out. The lock will be opened. In order to do this, you need to have a very small screwdriver like this, which I showed you in the first video. So if you haven't seen my first video, make sure that you watch the summary video on the cruise control installation, where I show you the tools that would be required. So now I have pulled the lock easily using this screwdriver. Make sure you place it in this hole in this direction and pull it up, and also in this hole and pull it up in the same way. It will have a click sound and it will open like this. Don't push it down again, because it will lock again. Now you can see I have attached this end. I can easily remove this once I have removed the lock, the wire and the pins that you would need to complete your cruise control installation. It is very important to have proper wire harness with the proper pins, so that you can connect it properly to the ECU and also to a connector that is in the steering wheel. So when I ordered the wires from the Raj, I got this one wire, which is almost the length of the dashboard, and it is appropriate length. And then I got this one wire, which had a pin at one end, and it had a ring connector here, just like this, but it was much smaller than this one. Now I have cut it. This is not appropriate because the length was too short to be taken to any ground on the vehicle, so it was useless, and also the pin was not appropriate. In this wire as well, the larger wire, the pin was not appropriate. It was not connecting to the ECU, and it was not connecting to the connector in the steering. You can see the difference in the connectors. I have now attached the appropriate connector. I will tell you where I got this from and how I connected it to the complete wire. This was the one which came with this red wire, the small one. So it was not appropriate for our cruise control installation, so I removed it, and I got a connector from the market, a used one, and I pulled this pin along with this wire, and I then connected the wire to the original wire that I had, and then I used shrink tube to cover it up. So it is basically a connection here, which you cannot see now because I have properly covered it with shrink tube. The same will be done to the other end. The other end will also have a pin. Surprisingly, the pin here is slightly different, because this pin will be inserted into the ECU, and the ECU has a connector that is slightly different from the one that you will be using in the steering wheel to connect this. So I have got both of them with me. One is this one, from which you will extract a wire, and the other one is this one. So this one wire, I will show you what type of connectors these are, so that you can buy the appropriate one. Now you can see this is a 12 pin one, because it has 12 slots in it, and this one is appropriate for any connection in the ECU part, because the shape of it, the shape of the pin that is inserted, that is present in this connector, is similar to what you will see in the ECU. So if you pull a wire from this, you can easily connect it with any wire, and you can insert this wire then into the ECU. So your connection will be appropriate using this one. This same one can be inserted into the other end, that is in the steering wheel, but I would not recommend it. Although it is inserted and although it is properly secured, it won't come out, but the shape or the lock that is present in this wire is slightly different from what we have for the steering wheel, which I have here. So this one is a 12 pin one. Its number is 12552, 12 pin connector for the ECU. It's actually not the same as the ECU because the ECU has a bigger connector, but the lock and the pins that are inserted here are exactly the same for this connector as well as the connector that you see in the ECU. So if you get a wire from this, you can easily connect it to this wire and then insert it into the ECU. So this was done. I have already extracted one wire from this and connected it here. There is also a possibility that you can use this one and attach it to the other end and connect it to the connector in the steering wheel, but I won't do that because there is some slight change or difference in the shape of this one. The most appropriate one for inserting into the steering wheel area connector is this one. It's exactly the same connector that you would see in the steering wheel. Even the shape is the same, the pins, the numbers are the same, and it has a number here which actually shows its part number. So the part number for this one is 12730 and it's a 14 pin connector. So ideally, if you want the proper connection for the ECU, the wire would come from here, and if you want an exact same match for the connector you will encounter in the steering wheel, which you require for this end, you will need a pin or a wire with a pin from this connector. But if you don't get this one, you can still get both of the connections from this connector, so it will work. But the shape is slightly different. It will lock into place. It will not give you any trouble, but I would recommend if you can get 12 one and a 14 pin connector. Mind you, the wires would be much less in number. That's okay. The thing is, you need to have 12 pin numbers here. So it's called a 12 pin connector because it has slots for 12 wires or pins. It's a 14 pin connector because you have slots for 14 pins or wires. So if you get these two, this is very good. You will get out a wire from here and connect it to one end, and you will get a wire from here and connect it to the other end. Now what about the other wire that I showed you, the shorter one? It was too short, so I have to replace it completely, and it was having this smaller pin which was useless also, and it was having a ring connector at this end which you could have used, but I have now removed it because I don't need this. I have replaced this with a new one. I connected a ring connector here, and then I use shrink tube on top of it, but as you can see, I got a very large ring connector, and it doesn't look very good, so I will be replacing it with a much better one. I have bought these ones which are much smaller. The hinges are much smaller than you see on this one, so it's a much bigger connector, ring connector, and I didn't want it, so I would replace this one. But you can see this is approximately 2 feet or 3 feet wire, 2.5 feet wire, which is almost appropriate for what you would expect from the ground area to the steering column. I will show you how it is connected. The other end, as I have told you earlier, the other end is connected into a connector, 14 pin connector. This one, a 14 pin connector that is in the steering wheel. So I will get a wire from here and attach it to this end, and I will then use a shrink tube. You can get this from the market very easily or order online. You will get the appropriate size, insert it into any wire, on top of any wire, and then use heat matchstick or any fire source, and it will shrink into place. It shrinks into half of its diameter. So once you place it here, you can shrink it like I have done it here, and you will get a very decent and good looking connection. I will also show you how to make this connection between these two wires, so that it is not very visible and it looks good. So as you can see, this is not a single wire, but it looks like a single wire because I have covered it with a shrink tube and also made a very good connection here. The same I will do for this one by taking a wire from this connector. The first one was made with this connector, which is 12 pin. The other end will be from 14-inch connector. But if you don't get this 14 pin connector, you can get this one, the 12 pin, and use it here and also in the at the other end. So it depends on availability. If you have them both, then it's very good. You will be making an excellent connection. But if you don't have the 14 one, you can use the 12 one at both ends, because it's usually difficult to find this one, and the 12 pin one is usually easily found. Since this one has for this wire, no connection to the ECU is required. A connection to a ground, a bolt or something onto the body, and a connection in the grip, that 14 pin grip. You will insert the pin from this 14 pin connector, and then insert it into the steering wheel area. So it will not require two connections. It will require only one connection into a connector, and the other one would be grounded. As you need one end of this wire to be grounded, you will need a bolt of 10 mm size. I got these, and I also got some ring connectors so that I can do the job very well. I will not be using this one because it is a very big one. I will be replacing them with the smaller ones that are appropriate for this thin wire. So I will be replacing this one and making a new connection. But the point is, you will connect one end of the wire as a ring connector, and the other end will come from this 14 pin connector. If you don't have the 14 pin connector, don't worry, you can use the 12 pin as well, and the connection will still be good. The next thing that I want you to know is to get some good wire. Either get a used wire that is very good quality, or go to the market and purchase a wire that is of good quality with good strength. Rather than purchasing cheap ones, you should invest in some very good wire for this. Mind you, the size should be very similar to what you see here. If this is a joined wire, so if I remove these are 3 wire joints together, that can be easily removed, and the size is, as you can see, very similar to the one shown here. Also, I got this one wire from separated one from here, so I will be separating another one and make a better connection compared to this one. So I will be using that. In addition, you might want to have something like this, a tube that covers the wire, because I ordered a wire from Daraz, and it came from China. It was already covered with this sheet, so I wouldn't need this cover for this one, but I would need it for the ground connection. The wire that is good for the ground connection, I will be covering it with this one. Now I will show you how to separate a wire from this. Very important to know how to separate a wire from this. For this, what you need to do is, let me show you this one, because it's a bigger one and easier to see, although the process is the same for both. Now you can see that there is a white rectangle here, and it has this in this direction lock. Now what you do is, you see the two spots here, the two slots here. You use a screwdriver and you pull it up. Once you pull it up, it will make a click sound, and the white part, make sure you don't cover it like this. You place it like this in your hand. Don't cover it, because if you cover it like this and then try to open the latch or the lock, it won't open. So you hold it like this and then insert a screwdriver here, a small one. A very small screwdriver would be needed so that you don't damage this white part, and you will pull this up slightly, and this one as well, and it will pop open. Once this is popped open, this means one of the lock is now open and the wire is free. But the wire also has another lock which is locked here somewhere, so it is very difficult to remove it using some nail or other sharp object. But what you can do is, you can hold it like this. After opening this lock, you can hold it like this and pull on this wire. I have done it, and it very easily you can remove it. But if the wire is much shorter, you would need to have a plier like this, or any other plier, but make sure you do not cut the wire. Instead, you pull it very fast, and it will come out without any damage to the connector or any damage to the wire. I have done it. It is very easily done. You can try it, and you will easily be able to do this. Once you remove this, it will be in this form. It would be like this. So you don't need to or you don't try to remove it from here. It is almost impossible, and you will break this pin. So it is recommended to not try and remove this pin and attach it to another wire. Instead, what you do is, you make the connection with your wire here, and you make a proper connection, and then you cover it with a shrink tube. So this shrinks into place, and you won't be able to see the connection. So it would look good. Now I will show you how to separate this wire along with a pin from this connector. So what you need to do is keep it in this orientation and hold it from here in your one hand, and with the other hand you need to place this very small screwdriver in this slot. You place it like this, hold it with the other hand, and you simply use it like a lever and try to use this type of movement so that it is opened up. Similar will be done to this part. You will be using this screwdriver and pull it outwards. This will make a click sound, and it will open. The white part will open, so one of the lock will then be open. Now this wire with the pin has a lock somewhere here as well. So we can either remove it from here by some special tools that are used in order to remove this wire, but there is an easier method as well. Make sure you do not press on this again so that it is locked. Don't lock it again. You hold it like this, and with the other hand you pull one of the wire. If the wire has sufficient length like this one, it will easily come out. If it doesn't come out because the length of the wire is shorter, what you need to do is you need to have some plier like this. Hold it here. Make sure you do not break it, but hold it and then hold the connector in your hands, in one of your hand, and then pull this wire with this plier. When you pull it with a jerk, you will see that it very easily comes out. It would be a very easy process. You will be very satisfied with how easily it comes out when you do it this way. But make sure this lock is already open. I will show you how this looks when it is open. Once it is open, make sure it is not locked again. Place your hand like this, grip it properly, and then use the plier to pull on this wire. It will be easily unlatched or removed from this connector. So then you could solder it to your other wire and connect it wherever you want it, like in the ECU or in the connector near the steering wheel. So this is the process of removing or extracting a wire along with this pin and then using it for your purpose. It is very difficult to remove the pin from already connected wire, so it is a better process to actually remove the pin along with the wire and then use that wire connected with your original wire and then connect it anywhere you want. Now I have opened this, and now you can see there is a gap here, and also it is protruding or coming out of the black area. So it's already the lock is open. I will show you, if you press it from here, it will again lock and you will not be able to pull this wire. So if you want to pull this wire, make sure this lock is open like this. It is in this position, slightly above the rest of the connector. Once you are done with removing a wire, you can simply push here and it will make a click sound, and it will lock the rest of the wires in place. So this is how you will remove a wire and connect it to any other wire, so that you can use it to connect into the ECU connector or any connector you want. So this is the process. If you don't have the pins available, you can use old connectors and extract pins with wire with them and use them for your purpose. I have now made the connection for the wire and the pin that I wanted to use. Always make the connection like this. This is the best connection for wiring, because it is of the same diameter that of the actual wire, and it looks very good. Once I use the shrink tube, it will be easily covered as well. So it's always a good idea to make proper connection that looks like this. Now you see I have made the connection and also covered this with a shrink tube, so it looks very good. Secondly, I will now be covering it with this cover as well, so it will look even better. The work is done properly, it looks very good. So I have connected this ring terminal. You can see it's very well fitted, and I have used shrink tube to cover it up, and also shrink tube here. The connection is here, and it is shrink tube on top of another shrink tube. So it's really good. I usually don't cover this area so that it's easier to install, and also the grip area does not become crowded. So it's better to keep this place free of these shrink tubes so that you have more space to work. This is why I wanted to change this terminal. You can see the difference in quality as well as the fitting. So I changed it, slightly shortened the shrink tube as well, so that it looks good, and also added this covering. So it's better now. I won't be using the yellow one. I would be using the white terminal now, and connect it with a 10 mm nut bolt. So now I have the wires ready. The wires that I would need to complete the cruise control installation are here. This is a shorter cable with a ring connector at one end and a pin at the other end. This is the larger wire which covers almost the length of the dashboard. It also has two connectors, two pins that would be inserted into the ECU area, and one inside a connector near the steering wheel. So I have already shared the details of how I made these two wires. If you haven't watched that part, go back in the video and watch how I created these wires, because it is important for grip to grip installation inside the ECU and the steering wheel area. So as you already know, I changed these pins so that they are appropriate for this connector as well as the connector that is present inside the steering wheel area. So I will now be installing or connecting this pin into the ECU. For that I need to open this lock. As you can see, the lock is now open. I pulled it from here and here using a screwdriver, so it is now ready to connect. Now I will place one wire that is appropriate for this connector into this position just above the brown I showed you earlier. Now as you can see, the lock for this one is towards the right side. Whenever you insert this pin into the connector, make sure it is always in this direction. The lock would always be towards the top, and here also the lock should always be on the top. So this is the appropriate up position for this connector while connecting the wire, and this is the appropriate direction for the pin that I would be inserting. So keep it this way, and also keep this straight, and then connect it here. You can see that that there is a spot towards the left side here. If I place it like this, then it is towards the right, but you can see this area which is slightly above the rest, and this part, the lock from here would actually go into that spot that is available for it. So once you are doing it, you will easily see how this will be connected. If you try to do it any other way, it will not go inside the connector. If the pin is of appropriate size and you want to connect it in any other orientation than the actual orientation that is supposed to go into, it will not go inside this area. So you will know how to connect it, because it will not let you do the inserting in any other way. So you can insert it using the appropriate orientation that I just showed. Now how would you know that the pin that you inserted is actually the one that was meant for this connector? Now you can see the lock is open, but I cannot pull this out. This is because it has been properly locked inside the connector somewhere here. So I cannot pull it. That means it has been properly inserted and it is the proper pin for this connector. Now this is an added protection. The lock here would also lock this wire, so it is added protection, and you can just lock it from here easily. If the wire is not of appropriate size, if the pin is not of appropriate size, you might not be able to push this down. It will not lock. So now we can see that it has two locks. One of the lock is in the wire itself, which locks itself somewhere here, and the second one is the connector at the top of the connector, which is for locking the wire in place. So it's an excellent match. It is always a good idea to secure the wire with ties. Make sure you select a position that is already very well insulated. For example, I have picked the insulated part of this wire, also the insulated part of these connectors, and joined it here. So I have used a tie to tie it here, and then I can remove the extra part of the tie, and it will be secured in place. So in order to route this well, you need to select locations that look good and also secured. So I will now move it here and then move it through the dashboard to reach the steering wheel. So as we have seen, our work at the glove box area, the ECU connector part is done. We have connected one of the wire in the ECU connector. We will later place the glove box again into position once the wiring is complete and we have secured the wire into the connector that is here in the just below the steering column. So now we move towards the steering column and remove the components that would be needed in order to install the cruise control. Now in step number 1, we will remove this airbag. We will also need to remove this steering column shroud, this component. I will show you where it is secured and how to remove it. We will also remove this knee panel. Before we remove this knee panel, we need to remove this black panel which is below this knee panel. First, this black panel would be removed. These are screwed in 2 or 3 positions, and then we will remove the knee panel, which is the beige one. So all in all, we would need to remove one component, this, second this, 3, and 4th the black part of the knee panel. So 4 things will be removed from the dashboard in order to reach to the locations where we need to install the wire, or actually route this wire from the ECU towards the area where it will be connected. Before we remove the airbag, we need to remove the positive terminal of the battery, just to be on the safe side. But because when we remove the battery terminal, it would be difficult for us to move this around the steering wheel. So we would do the things that we need the steering wheel rotation for. For example, we would remove this screw first, and also this screw first before we remove the terminal, so that we do not have any trouble later on. There is also one screw below here, but we do not need to rotate the steering wheel for it. So in step number 1, towards this area, I would remove these 2 screws. I already told you to have a PH2 screwdriver in order to remove these screws. So we will remove one screw from here, one screw from here by rotating the steering wheel, and one is just below the along the adjustment area of the steering wheel. So the area where you push or pull for changing the position of the steering wheel, there is another screw here which we will remove. You should move your seat to the to further to the back, so that you can easily see the screw is actually in this position. So we need to remove the 3 screws, or at least the 2 screws, and then we need to remove the battery terminal, so that we can remove the airbag as well. I will show you how to remove the airbag as well. Make sure to take a picture of the screws, because some of the screws have different shapes. For example, these screws have these borders, and some of the screws might not have these borders, so you should know where to attach the screws, where to screw these into the column or in the areas where they are removed from. These ones are for the shroud, and they have these borders that I can see. So make sure you take pictures along the way, so that you do not forget anything and displace or install something at the wrong location. So it's always a good idea to take pictures or videos of the work as you go along. So before working on removing the airbag, you need to remove the positive terminal of the battery. Make sure you use the proper tools and do not touch any of the whenever you work with the positive terminal, make sure you do not touch any of the metal parts, because all of them can provide negative, and you will have a spark. And in some cases, if these slots are closed, there may be gases present which might come very hazardous. So make sure you use the proper tools, and whenever you work with the positive terminal, removing the positive terminal, never touch any of the body parts, positive or these are all negative. You cannot touch this. You can also not touch this while you are working with the positive. You cannot connect the positive and negative. If you touch this with this, there can be a disaster as well. Sparking would be there in minor cases, and in severe reactions there might be a blast of the battery as well. So make sure you do the job properly. Okay, I have already removed the battery terminal, the positive one, but the problem is that now, in order to remove the airbag, the location where you need to remove one of the pin is here, and one is also here at the very base. So it becomes very difficult if the steering wheel is oriented like this. So I need to reattach the positive terminal and move it in such a way so that these two slots, this one, this slot, and one slot here should be somewhere around here, so that I can easily work on it. The other part where there is one pin attached, we would need to remove this. We would need to remove this also in order to attach the new cruise stick. So the cruise stick will be attached here inside our cover that we have with the hole. So we will remove this. We will also remove our clips inside the holes which are present here and here. So I need to orient the steering wheel towards the right, turn it towards the right, so that I can see the slots where I would be removing the pins in order to remove this airbag. I will show you how to remove those pins or latches that are securing the airbags in place. So I have temporarily attached this. I will not be screwing it down. Just push it down so that I can start the car and move the steering wheel towards the right. So now I have moved the steering wheel like this towards the right, so that I can have access to this location and these two holes location, and I can easily unlatch or remove the airbag. So we would remove the airbag now. So in order to remove the airbag, look closely into these two holes, and you will see a clip, a metal clip that you would need to press, and then slightly drag upward the airbag, and these will pop out. So two of them are here, and one is beneath this cover. So I cannot show you in this camera, but once you look closely, you will see those clips, and you can easily remove them. You may need to use a torch, a good quality torch, to do this as well. I will show you how easy it is. Once you have placed the screwdriver in the accurate position, all you need to do is push, and it will pop open. So one edge is now popped open. We can do the same for this part as well. Just place it in the appropriate location and push the pin. It will easily pop. So now I have removed two of the pins, and the airbag has just popped out. I need to remove this cover and also remove the clip or the pin, whatever you want to call it. That would be pushed, and the whole airbag would come out easily. So basically you are placing the screwdriver here, and then you are pushing down like this. So once you push it like this latch will open and you can easily remove it. We will be replacing it with the one that already has a hole in it. So as you can see, the one I have ordered is exactly of the same size, and the locks are the same. Even you can see the manufacturing number 45186, so they are appropriate, and they would be installed into the same position without any problem. But I have removed this small cover. You can easily see what pin we are actually pushing, so that this is releasing. So now I will push this as well, and you can see all of the three latches of the airbag is removed, and now you can easily take out the air. So now we have remove the airbag. Make sure you take a photo or video at this point, so that you know if you remove anything, you need to place it in the same orientation and location. So now you can easily see the locks that were present. These were basically the locks, the pins that we pushed, and it popped open the airbag. So they are at these locations: 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So these are the 3 locations which holds the airbag in place. Once you push these pins, the airbag is easily removed and popped out. Now we need to remove these connectors so that we can place the airbag securely and away from the steering wheel. For the second connector, which is here, you need to place the small screwdriver here securely and push it outward very slowly. You can place it like this, move it down, and then pull it open. So once this is open, you can easily remove this part. Make sure you take a photo or a video at this point, so that you know how it was oriented when you reinstall. So now you can see it is easily popped out. You place the screwdriver here and you pull it up so that the lock is open, and then you easily remove it like this. Whenever you place the airbag, always make sure you place it in this orientation, so that this part is up and the airbag part is down towards the seat. Since the airbag is now removed, I reconnected the terminal and put the steering wheel in straight position, so that I can work easily on installing the cruise stick from this location. We will screw it here and then connect one of the wire here, and then we will remove the shroud and the knee cover, so that we can attach this wire into one position just near the shroud and route it through this part just below the AC vent or the screen in this position, and bring it here so that we can install or pin the wire here. Now you need to slide in the cruise control stick like this. It will be in this orientation, and there will be a pin here. It will be connected in this position. You will have 2 screws here that you can attach. Make sure this is in exact orientation, in the right orientation, and you can screw it here. Before you screw it here down into the steering wheel, make sure you attach the wire that came with it in this grip. so that it does not become difficult for you later on. We will connect these two connectors at the end. This one is for the horn, and this one is for the airbag unit. So we will connect them at the very end when we are reinstalling the airbag. For now we will just hold this cruise strip with two screws and attach the grip or connector here and the other end here. So our work in this part will be complete, and we will then move to the steering column shroud and the knee panel removal. One of the best tips that I usually give to people is to not secure one of the screws very tightly. Whenever you have to attach 2 or 3 screws for one unit, never tight one of them and then do the second one. For example, if you tight it here, you might be left with a screw tightened here, but the position will be out here. So all you need to do is keep it not very tight. Do not tight it completely, leave some leverage for it, and then attach another one, and finally when both of them are securely in place, then you can tighten both of them together. So this is the best tip that I usually give to people whenever they have to install a component where 2 or 3 screws are required. Make sure you use the appropriate PH2 screwdriver for these, so that you do not damage any of the threads or the heads of the screwdriver or the screws. So make sure you use the proper tools. Now this is properly secured. I have attached this grip as well, and the grip that would be connected here also. So both of the grips are now connected. So now our work in the steering wheel part is done. We will remove the steering column shroud and the lower knee panels in order to reach to the grip or connector where we will install the ECU wire, and also ground one of these wires from there as well. Once you have securely connected the cruise control, you can now place this cover in this position. Make sure you match their shapes and hold it in the same position as the shape of the area where it will be fitted into, and just slide it in this cruise control and push it in place. Make sure you first place this part, the lower part, secure. I have now placed the lower part secure in place, and I just push it from the top, and it will be secured completely in the slot, and it will be an exact and perfect fit. As you can see, there is a perfect fit, and the quality is also the same, so you don't see any difference between the original cover and the body and the now the replaced cover. So it's good. So it's the importance of this cover is that it will secure it from dust, and you can easily move the cruise up and down because there is some rubber part or plastic part here that will allow you to do this, and also do not allow dust to enter into this hole. So it's a good protection that is available for the cruise control stick. Now I have removed the 3 screws for the steering column shroud, but before we remove or try to pull it, we need to remove this beige knee panel as well as the black one. First we will remove the black knee panel, which is secured by screws here, and also there is a latch at the very deep part here. So we will remove the black knee panel as well as this beige one, and then remove this shroud. So we will need to remove one of the screw here, one screw here, and also there is a lock or a latch here which we will need to remove, and also if we go deeper inside, it is attached here as well in the central part. So we will remove these screws these two screws and then unlatch it from here. We need to slightly drag it inwards and outwards in order to dislodge it. So these are the two screws that I removed from this black knee panel, and I also removed this part and this part. When you remove the screws, you just push it towards the front of the car and it will be dislodged very easily. We need to whenever we want to reinsert it, we need to see where this will be fitted into. We need to first fit this part and then fit this part and then reattach the screws. So whatever we did, we would do the opposite process and we would easily secure it into place. For this beige part of the knee panel, you just need to push it outwards and it will easily pop out. Same is the case for this part as well. So when we pull this out slowly, we remove these connectors and this is how it is removed from the dashboard. You should be very careful with the steering column shroud because this is very securely attached. You need to push it from the right side as well as the left side at the same time. Push it inwards from here and push it inwards from here as well. So you push it inwards from both sides and it will be popped out. Do not try to just pull it without pushing them from both sides. So you need to push from this side and push from this side inwards as well. You push inwards from both sides and then you drag it, it will be released. So these were the screws, 1, 2 and the third screw was here. This is the most difficult part to remove. In order to remove it, you basically have to press it from here and also from this position. You press it like this from both position, but there is not much space for your hands. So once you push it inside from here like this and also from here using both your hands, you can remove it, but make sure you don't try to drag it when it is not popped open, because you might break these hinges there. These are not very strong. I have another excellent tip for you. If you are finding it very difficult to remove the shroud part here just below the steering column, you need to place your hand here. There is a slot available here in the lower shroud. I have already removed the lower shroud, and you push this one outward like this. The upper shroud should be pushed outward and the other one, the lower one, should be pushed inward towards the steering column. This way this will remove these 2 or 3 latches here and you will be able to remove it. Whenever you remove the lower steering shroud, it is very difficult usually to remove, so be careful not to break these hinges. So this is a very good tip. You might have to slide your hand like this and push this upper shroud in this direction and the lower shroud in the other direction, so you will be able to easily unlatch it. So this is the best tip I could give you, but be very careful. You need to remove one screw from here by rotating the steering wheel, and also another screw from here, because the shroud is basically bolted here, and also it is connected here with a screw. So screws on both sides should be removed before we try to pull down the shroud. So these are the steps involved. You remove these screws, one to the left and one to the right, and then you remove the shroud by pushing this one outward, the upper shroud outward and the lower shroud in the towards the inner direction. So this is how it is removed. Now we have removed everything that we needed to remove, and you can see the black connector here. We will remove this black connector, and one of the wire from ECM will be pinned here, and also one wire from here would be ground to the vehicle bound body. So we will unplug this and see where to connect these 2 wires. Now this is the connector where you will pin one of the ECM wire, and also one of the pin connected here will be grounded. So at the number 1 position, since this is a female connector, it starts from the right hand side, top one, and we move like this and count. So this is number 1 and this is number 2. Immediately to the right of the blue is number 2, and then starting from the right hand side is the 1. So we will the ECM wire will be pinned to number 1, and we will also pin another wire here that would be ground to the vehicle body. The routing of the wire is up to you, but I have connected the wire here and then tied it here, and then I have placed it just above in this area. There are good locations that you can slide it into, and then place it here and move it along the dashboard towards the steering wheel. You would need to use a stick, attach it to one end, and then you can take it through this hole that you can see, and take it to the other side. For routing the wire, use a stick, attach the other end to it, and then just slide it through this part easily. Now I'm going to show you the good ground point for the other wire. This looks to be the best ground point. You could also use this one and also this one, but this looks to be a better one because it already has a nut welded to it. All you need to do is have a 10 mm bolt and insert the wire here using your ring connector that you already attached to the wire. This would require around 2.5 feet wire, so that you can connect one end here and the other end of the wire with a pin in the steering wheel area to a connector. You can see I have bolted properly the one end of the wire to the ground, and also you can see that this wire, the white one, which is for the ground, is attached at number 2 position in the grip or the connector here. The other wire coming from the ECU will be attached here to the first pin area. We will do this now. Now to give you a summary of what I have done, this is the wire that comes from the ECU. From here, which is attached here, and it is connected to this connector at location number 1. The other end of it, which I showed you, is connected at number 22 for the other connector in the ECU, and this one is connected here at number 2, just below the steering wheel in this connector, and the other part of it is ground here. So this is all the wiring that you would need.